Welcome, history lovers, to Voices of History in our series, Road to the Decline of Rome. So today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating figure, Alexander Severus. History has often painted him as this last good emperor, a final glimmer of hope before the whole empire just plunged into chaos. But was he really a hero, or was he just the first domino to fall? If you just read the headlines from back then, especially from the historians who are friendly with the Senate, his reign sounds almost perfect. They talk about it as this glorious return to tradition, a stable, respectable government after a period of total tyranny. That was the official story anyway. But what if I told you that official story was just that, a story? That underneath all that propaganda about peace and stability, the reality was something else entirely. We're talking palace plots, military mutinies, and an empire that was already coming apart at the seams. So how in the world did a 13-year-old boy even end up on the throne in the first place? Well, it wasn't destiny, not even close. It was a cold, calculated, and brilliant plot, masterminded by the women of his own family. Okay, so the mastermind behind this whole operation was Alexander's grandmother, Julia Maesa. She was a political genius. She saw that her other grandson, the Emperor Elagabalus, was a complete and utter disaster. He was alienating everyone, the army, the Senate, you name it. So what does she do? She crafts the perfect replacement, young Alexander, branded as this ideal traditional Roman youth. It was PR genius, ancient Roman style. And their plan moved with terrifying speed. First, Maesa somehow convinces Elagabalus to adopt Alexander as his heir. By the time the emperor realized he'd been completely played and tried to have Alexander killed, it was way too late. The Praetorian Guard, whose loyalty was almost certainly bought and paid for, turned on him. And just like that, in a matter of months, one emperor was dead and a 13-year-old was sitting on the throne of Rome. Right, so a 13-year-old is the emperor, which of course begs the question, who was really running the most powerful empire in the world? Let's be real, Alexander wasn't calling the shots. He was a figurehead. The real power belonged to his mother, Julia Maesa, and her inner circle. She was incredibly clever, creating a council of senators to make it all look like a return to traditional aristocratic rule. But make no mistake, her word was final. And this wasn't some informal behind-the-scenes arrangement. Oh no. This was official. She was given this absolutely unprecedented title, basically declaring her the mother of everything that mattered: the emperor, the army, the Senate, and the country itself. It was a public announcement that she was co-ruler in all but name. And we have a witness. The historian Cassius Dio, who was a senator at the time, saw it all firsthand. He confirms it. Maesa was the one pulling all the strings, carefully managing the empire through her young son. She was a shrewd operator, projecting that image of tradition while holding all the real power for herself. But you can only keep up a facade for so long, right? This carefully constructed image of a stable, happy government couldn't last, because the reality of court politics, well, it was bloody and it was chaotic. So while the government was out there minting coins, celebrating peace and harmony, the imperial court was an absolute hotbed of intrigue and violence. Their control was a fragile illusion, and it was starting to shatter. Get this, the Praetorian Guard, right? The emperor's elite bodyguards. Their commander was one of the most powerful men in Rome. Well, in just over a year, that position changed hands roughly 7 times. This wasn't a stable government. It was a chaotic revolving door of conspiracies and assassinations. And it gets worse. Even their top guy, their most powerful ally, the brilliant jurist Ulpian, wasn't safe. He tried to bring some discipline to the Praetorians, and it backfired spectacularly. The guards mutinied, chased him right into the imperial palace, and murdered him right there, practically at the emperor's feet. Alexander and Maesa could do nothing but watch. It was a terrifying display of how little power they truly had. And just when you think things couldn't get more chaotic inside the palace, a huge storm starts brewing on the empire's eastern frontier. A new threat that would expose the emperor's weakness for the whole world to see. Over on the eastern border, the old rickety Parthian Empire was swept away by this new, aggressive, and highly centralized Sasanian dynasty. Their leader, Ardashir I, was a brilliant general, and he had one goal: take back ancient lands from Rome. And Rome's answer to this threat? A teenage emperor whose defining trait was, and I quote, Extreme caution. Yeah, this was a recipe for disaster.
The Persian campaign was a complete and utter fiasco. Alexander's hesitation and his failure to lead led to massive Roman losses. The army's respect for him just evaporated. He went back to Rome and celebrated a big triumph, but the soldiers who actually fought and bled and suffered, they knew the truth. In their eyes, their emperor was a coward.
So, humiliated in Persia, Alexander and his mother headed to the German frontier, where they made one final, fatal mistake. A mistake that would directly trigger the army's rebellion.
For the soldiers, this was it, the final straw. They already despised Alexander after the Persian disaster. Now they're watching him try to bribe German tribes with money they believed was rightfully theirs. Can you imagine the fury? It was the ultimate betrayal. They renounced him and instead raised up one of their own, a tough-as-nails general named Maximinus Thrax, and the Severan dynasty ended right there, in a bloody tent on the German frontier.
And just like that, Maximinus Thrax becomes the very first of what historians now call the barracks emperors. His rise to power, based on nothing but the will of the army, literally kicks off a half-century of constant civil war, invasion, and economic collapse. We know it as the crisis of the 3rd century. So, in the end, that supposed golden age of Alexander Severus, it wasn't real. It was a facade. It was a carefully crafted image of stability that completely shattered the moment it faced a real crisis, revealing the deep, fatal cracks that were already running through the heart of the Roman Empire. Which leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Was his failure the actual spark that lit the fire? Or was the empire already so rotten to the core that his collapse was just inevitable? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and hey, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you on the roads of the empire, on the way to the decline of Rome.